All right, hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Creating a New Life Through the Internet. I'm very excited about today's episode. We got a very special guest. But before I introduce him, I just got to geek out for a second. I'm honored to be sitting here talking with him this morning. He's helped me out even more than he knows, I'm sure. I was in this place where I was so worried about knowing like every little detail about everything before I would like take on a new client. I figured like someone's paying me money, I need to know every single thing that there is to know about what I'm doing for them. Until I heard this guy and he said something like, we are entrepreneurs, like we figure things out. That's what we do. If someone asks you for like your help or they want to hire you for something and you don't know like exactly how to do it, like you just say yes and you figure it out along the way. I mean, we find the who's, this is what we do. We're entrepreneurs. And I mean, that alone, that just helped me so much. All right, I
Awesome.
don't. Yeah, thank you. I don't want to drag on this intro too long, so I'm honored to have him on the show. He's Russell Brunson's personal like funnel builder for years. Co-writer of a new book, which has got some number one in like 5 categories on Amazon in like a couple days. Like that's crazy. That's amazing. um, he's got a couple amazing courses, his own mastermind, a top-rated podcast. The great Mr. Steve Larsen. Welcome.
Dude, thanks so much. And I got to tell you, I think that's the coolest intro anyone's ever given me.
Really?
You know more about what I've done than I have. That's awesome. Thank you, man.
I mean, I've been following you for a while. I learned about you in the OFA. You're a great teacher. I love the live trains were like the best part about that whole thing.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, first I just have to ask you. I need you to be completely honest here. I've heard you use both, so please tell us which do you actually prefer, Steve or Steven?
Steve's fine.
Steve's fine. You're not just
Yeah.
saying that because that's what Russell uses.
No. Actually, he usually calls me Steven still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve's good then. Okay, so now for those living under a rock who may have not heard of you, tell us a little bit about your history. Like, what were you doing before all this success? Like, what kind of motivated you to get to this point?
Yeah, it was honestly when my wife and I got married. I've always been slightly entrepreneurial, but it was when we got married. I don't think anyone like grows up thinking I'm going to be an entrepreneur when I grow up, we're going to be the astronaut or whatever. And when I got married though, I was kind of put in a place where I needed to figure it out and couldn't feed my wife literally. And it was an intense scenario it would be intense for anybody, but it was really heavy. And I went and I called my dad and asked for money. And had student loans coming on the way. And I said, Dad, we're going to get this cash. Could you float us some money? And we had just started our married life, like maybe 6 weeks in, and we were broke, couldn't get any jobs. We're living in a college town. So people were literally working for like $3 an hour, and I was like, I can't work 4 of these and still live,
Yeah.
And so there needed to be another way. So student loans are coming on the way, but like, it just wasn't going to make it. And they were going to be there for like, another month and a half or something like that. That's what they told us anyway. And so I called my dad, said, could you float us some cash? And he said, son, no. He said,
Yeah.
if I give you this money now, you're not going to exhaust resources you didn't know you had. And it was super, that's pretty beastly of a dad to say that, honestly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't a lazy kid. I'm the oldest of 6. So I worked tons of jobs growing up, lots of labor jobs, but for some reason, like the dabbling stopped. I had to figure it out immediately, and I didn't. It took me, it was on my 17th try, about 4.5 years later that I don't really know how we made it through those first few times, but we did. And it was on my 17th try that one really exploded. And then after that, you figure out why all those others sucked, and there starts to be patterns. And so pretty much all of them after that has been all awesome successes. And so it's been the exact opposite, which has been fun. So
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't all happen overnight. Can you tell us a little bit more about the struggle, maybe, and then like now, kind of like how success is, and maybe how that is that if that changed you at all,
Yeah.
All right, yeah, man, that's cool, man. That's very inspirational. I'm sure a lot of people kind of relate to that.
It is intense, and honestly, everyone has a story like that. And I think the hardest part about what I do is that people come to us asking, hey, how do I make this money? And we know how to do that. What the hard part is we teach them these models, right? We teach them, hey, this model will cause cash. This model will cause cash. And when we do that, the hardest part is tweaking the entrepreneurial brain as it tries to execute the model. That's the part that's the hard part. It's not, will this work for me? Like, that stuff's over. Yes, it will. It's how can we, train and coach their heads as they move forward?
Okay.
That's the most challenging piece. Their business will grow to the level they do.
Okay, yeah, and I know a lot of people, they struggle with kind of like the first steps, like what is the first thing I should do when they're first getting into this? So like, what would you suggest maybe like the first thing they should like look into or like, I don't know, learn basically?
Yeah, and it depends a lot on what you're actually going to be doing, but there's always a lot of deciding on who you're going to serve. I think it's the most important question you could answer. Most people instead, they start at the product, and I like, I messed myself up for years on that question. What am I going to sell? What am I going to sell? It's like how I tortured myself with this question. What am I going to sell? What am I going to sell? It's like a whip. And it wasn't until probably my third year into really trying, and I wasn't just like dabbling around. I was actually launching companies and walking around trying to sell it to people. There's true intent behind it. And what was interesting is like, every time I would launch something, I'd be like, this is the one. And all of my, I don't know, emotional license, all the guarantees that things are going to work, were rested on whether or not I felt I had a good idea. But I wasn't starting at the right place. Instead of what should I sell, everyone needs to start at who should I sell. And when we start the who, the what to sell gets really easy. It comes very naturally. But I just wasn't focused on that, we all think the success comes from the product. It just doesn't. Yeah. So I would start with the who.
Okay. Makes sense. So if you had to pick, I know there's a lot of things and skills that like entrepreneurs should learn, but if you had to pick the top 3 things that every entrepreneur needs to have or learn or do to be a success, like what would those 3 things be? And then like kind of what's the best suggestion on how to like hone or learn those skills?
Yeah. Yeah. I think to be an entrepreneur, it's intense. It's more than just deciding to, if you want it to be like a little side hobby or whatever, that's totally cool. If you're actually going to like make this a thing though, that you put both feet in on, anyone who's listening or watching this, just be ready to feel evolutions in yourself. Like you're going to break and rebuild yourself. Emphasis on break. Okay. You're going to break parts of yourself like every 3 to 6 months seems to be the rotation for me. And it's uncomfortable. And I was talking to one of my coaches about this. I have a lot of coaches everywhere. I'm coaching. It's like wings on a plane. You know what I mean? Got to make sure someone's coaching, but also getting coached. I have both wings.
Yeah.
I was talking to my coaches about this, and I was like, why is that? Why is it that I feel like I'm constantly having to redevelop myself? Because it's exhausting. And since you're breaking and rebuilding parts of yourself so frequently, there's this weird thing where entrepreneurs have to rediscover themselves at a speed that just most don't have to do. And that level of change and ambiguity is pretty aggressive. And so there's 3 things moving forward. I would say, number 1, be prepared for that. Like you really do need to focus on this level of personal development. Today, right now, I'll tell you, this afternoon, I have a brand new employee I just hired who's going to be coming here. And it wasn't until I hired my first employee that I went and realized like, oh my gosh, I need to, it's no longer just about the idea. Now I need to become a teacher.
Yeah.
Now I need to train. How do I go through and grab these roles? Right. And then how do I, like, it's just fascinating how many problems you have to go and solve. So I would say, number 1, like be prepared to personally self-develop. Whether or not you choose to like spend time on it, you will have to do it just in your day-to-day tasks. They'll pop up. The second thing is like, you need ridiculous clarity on what it is that you want. I would say the flip side of that. And the third thing though, this isn't like a definitive list, but I would say the third thing is you got to get real good at saying no. Success is not equal to the number of opportunities you have in your pocket. It's just not. And I used to mistake it that way. And probably about 4 years ago, I would be like, I think I was building funnels for 12 companies at the same time. Like it's nuts, right? on the side in the evenings of working for Russell.
Yeah.
It's my own stuff. And it was way too much. And all these companies and all these people were coming to me. I was like, oh my gosh, I must be so successful because of how many opportunities are coming away. No, it was hell. Like, it was so loud. It was ridiculous. And like, it wasn't until I chopped and chopped and chopped and said, no, 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 no. And I got rid of all the stuff and just did one thing really well, do less better. And that's when everything started really exploding. It's really interesting.
Awesome, man. That's some great advice. I actually really relate with that because it's like I didn't even, so pretty much till you just said that, I didn't really understand it fully. Like it's like I go through waves. Like I get very inspired and a lot of work done, and then I kind of like, oh, what am I doing now? And then I kind of get kind of down again, and I don't know what to do. Like it's kind of like I feel like what you're saying. You're just going through these changes. You got to be ready for the changes and prepare for it. That's great.
It's weird. I always kind of made fun of personal development. I'm not gonna lie. When I was in college, like, it just shows some of my immaturity as I say that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I started actually moving in the game and I was like, oh my gosh, this is entrepreneurship. It's as much about the idea as it is me developing constantly. I'm like, I got to get serious about this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've come to realize. It is mostly just mindset. Like it's crazy. It's just everything's learnable. It's just you have to get through in your own head that I can't do this or whatever,
So true.
All right. And then maybe just give a brief explanation for maybe some of the people watching that don't know really the difference between a sales funnel and a traditional website, and then kind of like why you feel it's important that they should have a funnel.
Yeah. So a website is a page by definition with multiple exits. So if I get on a page and at the top of the page, this is just super important to understand as we compare it to a funnel. If I go to a page and I could go to the about and I could go to this and I go to, services and I could go to contact, we call that a website, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. The problem with it in marketing though, is that if I spend money to that website, the chances of them doing what I want them to do is very low, right? Like I'll tell you right now, like on Shopify, I think Shopify is great. I'm not hitting on them at all. But on their own website, you are considered a good Shopify store if you are converting like 1.5 to 2.5% of the traffic that goes to it. That's rough. Like that's super rough. So by contrast, a funnel, what it is simplification for the customer so they know what you're talking about. There's only one exit per page. Do you want this thing? Would you like to opt in? Do you want to get this free thing? Do you want this thing that's somewhat cheap or whatever? I mean, you can do with expensive stuff as well. And then as soon as they purchase that, what you're doing is you're asking them, would you like this other thing as well? It's these little tiny add-ons and upsells, kind of like when you go to Amazon and they say, other customers have bought this. And you're like, do you want to toss this in too? Or, hey, while you're on your way out, do you want to add insurance to this electronic thing? There's little upsells built throughout. It's similar to that, but each upsell has its own page. And so what's cool about that is that we can actually increase the average cart value of each customer. So the average amount of money each person spends when they start buying is usually higher than the $7 thing they bought at the beginning. So let's say, if someone's going to go sell a book on Amazon for $20 and I'm going to sell the same book on a funnel for $20, because of a few upsells, and there's ways to do it that are annoying and there's ways to do it that really complement the customer. And are not annoying, right? So the same, like $20 inside the funnel, on that first page, I'll have another upsell and another upsell, another upsell. So my average cart value might get up to like $34. Contrast with the other person who's only selling on Amazon who only has $20. Now, the reason why that's important is because if I am collecting an average of $34 per customer for the same book that someone sells on Amazon for only $20, what it means is there's $14 more I can spend in ad dollars to get more traffic, right? I can actually spend up to $34 to acquire a customer, and the other person can only spend up to $20. Online, I will crush you if I can spend that much more money. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the power of them, is like they allow you to spend more money to acquire customers than your competition can do, and it's mind-boggling.
Yeah, and then basically whoever spends the most wins.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like whoever's, and it's a sad fact. You know, when I was in college, I went to, I got a marketing degree, and I'm not knocking school, none of that stuff, but like, you just don't learn that kind of thing. You learn that someone buys because of you have a better product, and like maybe, but like in our day and age, we're not just in the information age anymore. It's very much the attention age. So like, whoever can be the loudest, whoever can spend the most to make the most noise to acquire the customer, they always win. It's not so much about who has the best product. Unfortunately, you know, I said that once, and I think someone was thinking I was sanctioning that. I'm not sanctioning it; it's just the reality, you know.
Yeah.
That you can be. I'm sure everyone has seen somebody. You're like, how are you making so much money? You're really bad at this, you know. Or you see somebody who's like terrible at their craft, and they make a lot of cash simply because they are a good, attractive character, or they make more noise, or you know, it's not really about being the best anymore. You should be, but it's unfortunately when it comes to selling it, that's not enough anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Sales funnels are important. I think now more than before, people are starting to realize that, and they start knowing they need a funnel. Now I feel like another big problem, which I want to kind of discuss quickly with you, is like kind of like lead nurturing and retention of customers. Basically, like discussing the importance of follow up in general. So like, how important do you think follow up actually is, and like, what do you think is like the best methods, like email or text, or like maybe the new emerging chatbot field?
Yeah. So as far as follow up goes, as far as method of follow up, I think it very much depends on who you're going to sell to. Some people just love Facebook. I mean, I like Facebook too, but I don't. Facebook Messenger for me is way too loud. So if I am in someone's target market and they choose to use like ManyChat or something where it's, you know, some kind of chatbot sequence, like I'm not going to see it. Literally, no joke, thousands of unread Facebook Messenger messages. So I'm just like, it's too loud.
Yeah.
So they get anyway, and that's true for all channels. It depends on who you're going for as far as method goes. But follow-up's huge. We've all heard that phrase, fortunes in the follow-up, and that's really true. In fact, I watched Frank Kern do this really cool little case study. He was like, here's when we followed up with people for a whole day, and here's where we didn't. And it was like 8 times more cash for the follow-up. You know, it's just massive amount of money. And a lot of times with a lot of these tools we talk about are so powerful in acquiring a customer that people will forget about the follow-up, retention, and upsell portions like you're talking about. And then they don't make anything, you know, or they keep getting all these customers, but it's at a break-even level. You know, they pay for the money for the customer to come in, they acquire the customer, and they don't have any like upsells. There's no focus on selling them the next thing. And then they're like, how come I don't make any money? Almost none of us really make a lot of money on the front end. It's always on that second thing we go sell. So super important.
Yeah. Well, that's why I want to put an emphasis on it. I feel like people, they don't really take it as serious as they should. Like follow up is probably one of the most important things. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we've been talking for a while. But Steve, I can't thank you enough for this great interview. I really appreciate the time you're taking. Before we go, though,
sorry, such a mess in here. I'm still cleaning from an event we just had.
Yeah, well, that was actually my next point. I wanted to get into what do you want to talk about? Where can we, I don't know, find all your great courses, your mastermind, stuff like that?
I don't have my Sales Funnel Radio backdrop up right now. I should, but stevejlarsen.com. That's my website. We call it the Funnel Hub because it'll guide you to the rest of the things that I have. Podcast is Sales Funnel Radio. My event is OfferMind, and it's what that backdrop thing is that's there. We still have to put away.
Yeah, you guys just finished there, right?
Yeah. There's another one called Offer Lab, but OfferMind's in September coming up. We just got to put a bunch of stuff away here. So anyway, yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. I'll put all the links in the description and everything. So any last pieces of advice or wisdom before we go?
Yeah. Just kind of back to what we were talking about before, you know. When I was in college, a counselor, I was going to counseling because I was struggling. I was going to counseling, and this counselor guy was like, hey, have you ever been tested for ADHD? And I was like, who are you to tell me that I might have ADHD? You know, I freaked out. Like on the inside, I was pissed at the dude. And actually not even on the inside. I'm very much on the outside. And he could see it. Like my eyes were fire. And I was like, what is this? You know? Anyway, and my wife was with me, and she's like, maybe you should just go take it. And I was like, all right, sounds good. She's like my calming
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the internal storm. And anyway, so I go in and take this test, and I hand it back to the guy, and he looks at the test and kind of disappears in the room. And there's like so much emotion in the room, comes back in and he goes, Stephen, you don't have ADHD, but you have a lot of symptoms of it. And I was like, isn't that how you tell if someone has something? It's like, what? But so I don't know. I could not. I have no idea. But because that's how it was left, because I was just throwing daggers at him, and the reason was because I didn't want to feel disqualified, And I was walking around saying like, "Don't tell me something's wrong with me. Don't tell me I can't. Like something's wrong with my vision and my dream." And sounds stupid, but like, we all do that. I don't qualify. I'm not good at this. I got kicked out of my first semester of college. I was 35% body fat in high school. Had a double chin. I was working on that triple, baby. And I mean, I had a near clinical fear of speaking to adults, and I would physically walk the other direction when I'd see another one coming down the hall. There was a lot of stuff that I've had to overcome in this. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, is because like man, this whole thing, I'm the least likely success story. I really believe that. And so I keep a coin on my desk here, just as a reminder. The way I started learning how to speak on stages and even do this is I would play videos of Russell and muted in front of a mirror, and I would physically mimic his motions to learn how I should move on stage, And it's like, and anyway, I'm just saying, like, it's funny because of the like the 25,000 people I've personally gone through and done some coaching with now over the last 4 years, like one of the biggest reasons someone walks away is like, Stephen, I'm just not good enough for this. Yeah, duh, right? I know you aren't, right? You are being shown what is wrong with you so that you can go and actually get your vision. And so these uncomfortable things that pop up that I'm just not good enough. Exactly. It's like, lean into it. And it's not until someone can get honest in their current state can they even move forward at all, right? I just stopped lying to myself, right? Stephen, you're not that fat. No. You're fat. You know what I mean? Stephen, you're not that broke. The account is below zero, bro. You are broke, Yeah. And it's like these moments of truth that really allowed me to like, okay, now I can do something about it because I'm honest on where I am. It's like Google Maps if it didn't show you your current location. Like it would suck, right? If you just put a destination. So like, but people can't be honest with that. We got this professionalism. I didn't think I'd be successful when I was younger because I didn't own a briefcase. Like that's stupid, but like whatever someone else's excuses, their excuse is stupid too. Anyway, so it's just my last little parting advice here. I keep a coin on my desk. It's funny as I say that, I can't find it right now. It's a little messy. But it says the obstacle is the way. The obstacle is the way. What's the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's on the back of the coin. And that's so true. I don't think everyone should go fight all those battles at once, but just choose one thing that you'll know what it is. Oh man, I got to get rid of this thing. Or I need to really change this behavior in order to hit my vision. And then just lean into it. It doesn't disqualify. It actually it qualifies you more while you move into the future with it. So,
man, this is some great advice. One more time, thank you for everything you do, man. I appreciate you. You're one of the nicest guys I've met, especially for getting so big as you are now, and you still take the time to do these interviews and help people out. Like, you're awesome. So I want to thank you.
Oh, appreciate that. Thanks, man.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. See you, Ryan.
See you, man. All right, I just wanted to thank everyone for checking out this interview, and Steve again one more time for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it. If you liked it, please like my channel, subscribe, share this video with anyone you think might find some value in it. Thank you.